The ancient stones of the monastery of St. Jude groaned under the weight of an unseen pressure. Father Elias, the last sentinel of this desolate place, felt it in his bones long before the first whispers began. For decades, he had walked these hallowed halls, his prayers a constant hum against the encroaching silence of the world. Now, that silence was being broken by something far more sinister. It started subtly. The holy water in the font would turn a murky, viscous brown overnight, only to clear by dawn, leaving a faint, metallic tang. The heavy, iron-bound crucifixes on the chapel walls would subtly shift, their angles just a fraction off, as if nudged by an invisible hand. Then came the cold, a penetrating chill that had nothing to do with the winter winds howling outside. A cold that seemed to emanate from within the very stones, carrying with it the faint, sickly sweet scent of sulfur and decay. Elias, a man of unwavering faith, dismissed them as tricks of the mind, the weariness of age, or perhaps the monastery settling. But the phenomena escalated. Whispers became guttural growls echoing from empty corridors. Shadows, too deep and too swift to be natural, darted at the periphery of his vision. One night, he awoke to the sound of his own name, hissed from the darkness just outside his cell door. A voice that was not a voice, but a vibration that rattled his very soul. He tried to pray, to bless, to invoke the sacred names, but the words felt hollow, caught in his throat, devoid of their usual power. His hands, accustomed to the comforting weight of the rosary, trembled with an unfamiliar fear. He knelt for hours before the altar, begging for intervention. "O Lord," he whispered, his voice hoarse, "send your angels. Protect this sacred ground. Protect me, your humble servant." He waited, not for a sign, but for the familiar warmth of divine presence, the comforting light that always followed his earnest supplications. There was nothing, only the growing, oppressive darkness, the monastery itself seeming to breathe with malevolence. Doubt, a serpent he had always kept at bay, began to coil around his heart. Had God abandoned them? Had he, Elias, failed in his vigil? Driven by a desperation that bordered on madness, Elias began to search the forgotten corners of the monastery. He scoured the dusty archives, the crumbling crypts, the abandoned cells. He wasn't looking for relics, but for answers, for any forgotten text that might explain this unholy siege. Days bled into nights. His fingers, raw